Hello, I'm Julie and this is Chris, and we're presenting a joint concept proposal for the mine site of renewable energy generation and storage and a visitors centre. Now, this is really exciting because from what we've heard today, it's been discussion around what we can do that's really sustainable, educative and all the above. It's just been really exciting to hear it. So we're presenting this on behalf of Anglesea Community Energy and Surf Coast Energy Group, of which we're both members. I'm also a member of the Surf Coast Shire Renewable Energy Task Force, who are committed to a 25% renewable energy target for the Shire by 2020. So yeah, we think this is a wonderful opportunity for the former Alcoa site to tell a great story for our town and our region, which could showcase a transition from fossil fuels to renewable energy. So ACE is a group of Anglesea locals promoting community energy projects in Anglesea. SCEG, some of whose members live in Anglesea, promotes sustainable living in the Surf Coast Shire, and we'd like to see renewable energy generated and stored on the site, and we will facilitate community engagement and investment in this. There's a lot of detail to this, but I'm just going through the slides, and then you can ask questions if you like. Yeah. So the proposal centres around renewable energy generation and storage, such as a floating solar farm with pumped hydro energy storage. So the Finkel report at the moment is pretty important because it's more and more of an important issue. Obviously, energy storage is something we're needing. Preliminary analysis suggests the potential to cover Anglesea's yearly electricity needs. Wait on, I've got to change the slide and I'm not sure which one it is. Is that it? Yeah? Good. Still just reading it out though. Preliminary analysis suggests the potential to cover Anglesea's yearly electricity needs with zero pollution. So that's 100% renewable for Anglesea. And we'd also really like to see a visitor centre for school and tourist audiences with tours, exhibitions, artworks, theatre, cafe and shop, as Raylene and everyone before us have spoken about, a really educative space. And a space that we could have a museum space too, to show where we've been and where we might go. And Chris is going to talk a bit about the actual location.
Hi everyone. So that's the rehabilitated site to be handed over by Alcoa, and this is a conceptual plan. It can change, but ultimately, what we've got there is the visitor centre that you can see marked up. There's three parts. There's that part, there's the floating solar farm, which you can see illustrated there. That can generate enough electricity to satisfy all of Anglesea's needs. And the third part to it is pumped hydro storage. And if anyone doesn't know about hydro storage, I'll quickly explain it. Basically, you have a reservoir, a lower reservoir and an upper reservoir. And when you've got abundant power during the day and demand is low, you pump your water up to the top reservoir, and when there's peak demand in the evening, you just flow the water down the hill. It's effectively a battery. So instead of battery storage, you've got water storage battery, and as it is right now, the reservoirs that exist don't cover all of Anglesea's needs. It covers about a third. But that's probably enough for storage, and Julie referred to the Finkel report, the recommendations to the federal government, suggesting that they put in legislation requiring new power generation to be accompanied with electricity storage, something we're going to hear a lot more about in the future, and we think that the opportunity that Anglesea has now to include storage, it could be actually a national leader in the new energy economy.
Do you want to just mention about up there, the space up there?
Okay, so you can see this reservoir up here is currently existing, and that's the fire suppression dam. That's about 30 megalitres, and there's about a 70 metre elevation differential between the surface of the pit and where the fire suppression dam is up there. And so without really any changes to that, all that's put in place is a pipeline between the top reservoir and the lower reservoir, and a pump and a turbine, and then you hook into the existing 220 kVA line, which what we're told is very valuable for a situation like this, where you can actually put the electricity straight into existing electricity network.
And apparently it's all underground.
And it'll all be underground, there'll be no noise, the pump and the turbines are basically below, they're sunk below the ground and below the surface level of the lower reservoir.
Okay, this one's you as well.
Okay. So we just...
Oh, wait on, that's not the one, sorry. This is me, sorry. So the benefits, we figure, potential for cheaper electricity, community income, because there's different models about community ownership of this sort of thing as well, which we haven't drilled down to, or I can't, but other people can comment on that. Tourist attraction, obviously keeping tourists in Anglesea is a really important part of this, and having something for people to do that's quite, a la Science Works, we kind of keep coming back to that, you know, an interactive space, as well as all that's been mentioned prior as well. It could be quite incredible. Supporting local jobs and businesses, and of course supporting the environment. And there you go. Chris?
We've just got a slide up there mentioning some of the partners, and we've been, through some of the people in the group, have had conversations with various players in this sector. The renewable energy sector is quite new to everybody. And it's quite a small community, so you're sort of a big fish in a small pond, and so it's pretty easy to get to the players in the sector in Australia. So we've had conversations with the Clean Energy Finance Corporation, we've had conversations with ARENA, which is the Australian Renewable Energy Agency. There's RES, who's a consultancy in renewable power. There's Pacific Hydro. Someone's had conversations with Science Works, I believe, Climate Up, and there's Bendigo Bank. There's also, that's not up there, is there's been some detailed work done by Entura, which are the biggest water infrastructure pump as part of Hydro Tas, who have done some work on this site to tell us the feasibility of the pumped hydro capacity. Do you want to talk about the visitor centre?
Yeah, it's just reiterating what we were saying, really, I suppose. So, yeah, exhibition space like Science Works, artworks, we could have Climb Art Festival organisers there.
Museum spaces like George had been talking about.
Absolutely.
That can be included.
Yeah, that's right.
And the whole site does not preclude, if we go back to, can you go back to the map? The whole site doesn't preclude all of this being put back and getting guys like the Anglesea experts in to convert, make sure everything is in compliance with best practice.
Yeah.
There can be mountain bike trails. So nothing I've heard today is mutually exclusive. It seems to me like everything could probably work on this site. Maybe, I don't know, probably maybe not the whole thing being a golf course.
But, you know, quite a bit there though, yeah. Innovation, exactly, that's right, yeah. And this project timeline, just quickly, Chris, I'll just get you.
Well, that's just a headline. Once the site's handed over, something like a renewable energy hub could be done very, very quickly. Probably the longest, the critical timeline might be the visitor centre. That might be the hardest thing the longest time. We can fly in panels and we can get the hydropower set up pretty quickly upon receiving all the approvals to move ahead with the site.
Do you want to just say something quickly? I've got 1 minute just to say quickly about the floating, why the floating and why that might be a good idea.
Yeah, okay. So the floating solar allows us for a couple of things. This has been done in a few places in the world. It's pretty new right now. From the technical side, it improves the efficiency of the panels due to the evaporation of the water. It cools the panels down and you get about a 10 to 15% higher efficiency rating, which kind of like puts us up into Mildura territory of the insolation rate, which is the solar energy actually received from the sun. So that's a big advantage. Advantage number two is that the rest of the site can be put to other uses.
Yeah, that's all I was just thinking. And it stabilises the water too.
And it stabilises the water, because there is some toxicity with the water, as we've seen noted. It needs 10 years before anyone can start using it. So this allows for the my understanding is that it allows the water to recover faster.
I'm not sure, but
or something.
Something like that. It's something good. No, something's quite good about it.
Thanks,
anyway.
Julie and Chris.
Thank you.